The Porsche 911 GT3 market has just flipped. After months of falling prices, we're now seeing a sharp and unexpected surge.
If you're thinking of buying, selling, or simply keeping a close eye to the market, pay attention. The shift could save or cost you thousands of dollars.
In today's video, we'll break down exactly what happened in the GT3 market. How much have prices gone up? What might be behind it? And does this trend apply to all GT3 generations?
Let's dive straight into the data. We start with the US market and wrap up with the German market at the end.
The star of the show is the 992 GT3. When it launched in 2022, prices set well above MSRP, but they also fell fairly quickly, in line with the broader market trend. By 2023, things had started to stabilize, but in 2024, non-touring models began to show further weakness. In our last market update, we saw that prices were down by 5.2%, and that was actually a strong result for a car like this, and we called it a value-conscious buy at the time.
So what happened during the last 6 months?
We can see large increases in the touring and non-touring market. A 992.1 has now a median price of $276,000, and for the touring this is $300,000. The price increase during this year amounts to 3.8% for the touring model and 4.6% for the normal model. Both changes are statistically confirmed. This means that it's unlikely that they are the result of chance. The year-over-year depreciation rate, or put better, appreciation rate, ends up at 6.2% and 3.1% respectively.
Now the numbers that we talked about are averages for the 992 GT3s. The price increase though applies to all used 992 GT3s.
If we look at the price trend for the standard model broken down by model year, we can see that cars from all model years are up. 2022, 2023 and 2024 cars saw significant price increases. Also, when we look at the trend from a mileage perspective, we can see that both high and low mileage cars increased in price. It's clear that the price increase affects the complete 992 GT3 market.
So what's driving this increase?
The data of course doesn't explain what causes the increase, but we can speculate as to what drives the impact. First, it might be the price hike for the 992.2 GT3. It comes at a $60,000 price increase compared to the original MSRP of a 992.1. This makes the 992.1 look like good value for money at the moment. This, in turn, could drive up demand and therefore prices.
On top of all of this, we have the tariff situation. It might be completely different compared to when I recorded this video, but this is where we're at now.
Until the end of March, Porsche paid a tariff of 2.5%. This pre-Trump tariff is directly accounted for in the MSRP. As of March 26, Porsche also needs to pay an additional 25% tariff on imported vehicles and parts. It brings the total tariff up to 27.5%. The most recent 25 though is fully absorbed by Porsche.
Now it seems unlikely that Porsche will continue to absorb this 25% rate indefinitely, and the market might be anticipating future price hikes.
Porsche in fact increased prices by 3.6% due to the quote-unquote market conditions. It is unlikely that this is driving the price increase in the charts, because prices started to increase much earlier.
Now whatever the reason is, it seems that owners are aiming to exploit this price increase and that the demand is there for it.
Market supply peaked in July at 143 cars. The increase that you see is caused by the very first GT3s with a mileage above the median, so well-used examples.
Up until now, there seems to be sufficient demand for the new supply.
The carried over inventory is extremely stable at 23%. This metric shows the percentage of cars that weren't sold within 3 months. If prices are too high, you typically see that it takes longer to sell a car, or that prices decrease for unsold inventory. GT3s though are still selling way quicker than the market average, and price discounts are non-existent anymore. Switching to these discounts for unsold cars, we can see that the market indeed weakened slightly at the end of 2024, but now recovered. Discount rates are in fact positive since April 25. This means that sellers are increasing prices despite cars not selling within 3 months. They know that the demand is there and that they will anyway sell the car.
So 992 prices are increasing, and this might have important consequences if you're planning to buy one. We talk about that later. Right now we'll shift our attention to the 991s.
Is the price increase trickling down through the various GT3 variations? Yes, it is. at least to some extent. 991.2 prices increased by 7.8% and .1s by 1.7%. Both changes are statistically confirmed, so it's unlikely that the increases are the result of chance. The yearly price change arrives at 9.9% for the .2 and 0.5% for the .1. So the effect is clearly stronger in the .2 market than in the .1 market. The .2 change is a clear trend break. Prices were relatively stable for a long time. Also, discount rates on unsold inventory are disappearing. .1 sit now at 0%, meaning that it's unlikely that the seller will reduce prices if a car didn't sell within 3 months. It's not uncommon, as it occurs often in the spring. The situation in the .2 market is similar to the 992 market. Sellers are increasing prices even if the car doesn't sell.
Are the price increases visible in the 997 market as well? Could they really affect 18-year-old cars?
I don't think so. 997.2s are up by 2.3% and .1s by 8.9%. Supply for these models is extremely low, so we need to be careful with these numbers. 996s also seem unbothered by everything that's going on in the 992 and 991 markets. Last year they increased by 11.6%, but also this number is influenced by some randomness. Prices and supply increased a lot for the lowest mileage cars, but the rest of the market was relatively flat.
Are you still with me after all of those numbers? Let's have a look at an overview.
Over here we can see the yearly depreciation rate since the beginning of 2024. Massive shifts are visible. The 992 market weakened in 2025, but now turned. The 991.2 market was stable for a long time, but also saw a massive shift. For the 991.1s, the change is much smaller, but still visible. The 997s remain strong, but there's some uncertainty in these numbers. Prices in the 996 market also went up, but this is mainly driven by the low mileage examples.
Now of course, Porsche isn't the only manufacturer getting slammed by tariffs.
If you've been following the channel, you might have noticed that many models started to depreciate slower. Looking at the yearly depreciation rate for all of the cars for which I'm tracking the prices, we can indeed see that the median rates have been decreasing since the pandemic. We saw McLaren models flattening, and also Huracans, for example, started to bottom. Yet, other cars like the GT3 RS and MC20s continue to depreciate at high rates.
The GT3 market though, so far, is the only market in which I'm seeing these massive increases. Other 911 markets are also curling up slightly, but not to this extent.
Now the fact that we can only see these increases in the US market reinforces that it might be related to the tariffs. If we look at the 992.1 price development in Germany, for example, we can see that prices are still falling. Last year they lost 6.7%, and this is in line with the earlier depreciation pattern. Higher mileage examples from 2021 and 2022 flattened off slightly, returning a rate of around 4%. Transitioning to the overview for the German market, we can see indeed that 992.1s have been depreciating at a stable rate. There are no signs of price increases. Yearly price changes in the 991 market are also low, and the .1s even saw a small increase. All the other generations are going up in price. Supply can be quite low for some of these segments, so there are some fluctuations, but all of them seem value-conscious buys.
Let's wrap up.
992 and 991.2 trends broke in the US market. Prices increased during the last 6 months, and this is different from what we've seen before. 992s were drifting lower and 991.2s were stable.
The data doesn't tell us why prices increased.
But we speculated that an increased MSRP for the 992.2 and anticipation of further price increases due to tariffs might be important drivers.
Right now there seems to be sufficient demand for these elevated price levels.
But everything we talked about is descriptive. We looked at the past.
Now sometimes I speculate a little bit on the channel about future prices, but it's not what the channel is about.
Statistically speaking, the price in 3 months from now is fairly similar to the current price. But the further you go into the future, the more uncertain the prediction becomes.
In this particular case, the uncertainty is even exacerbated by the price drivers. The sudden price increase is driven by something else than the traditional depreciation drivers like mileage and age.
Making long-term predictions is pure speculation.
So what can we say? Should you buy a GT3 right now as a value-conscious buyer, or should you wait till prices fall back down?
If you're buying now, you're facing the risk that prices might suddenly fall back to their previous levels. It's speculative, but the risk might be manageable. Assuming the increase is driven by the 992.2 MSRP increase, it seems unlikely that prices will suddenly crash, as it's unlikely that Porsche will drop MSRP. Assuming it's an anticipation of tariff though, prices could fall back if the tariffs are suddenly removed and Porsche didn't increase MSRP in the meanwhile to cover the 25% tariffs. Yet, as we saw, Porsche already slowly started to adjust their pricing.
As you see, there are many assumptions and speculations, so I will leave it at that. That also means that we arrived at the end of the video. Now if you enjoy this data-driven way of analyzing car prices, but would like to see a video for a different car, head over to my channel. Over there you'll find data-driven market analysis for a large variety of cars. Can't find the car you're looking for? Let me know the name of that car by commenting it down below in the comment section. Once there are enough requests for a certain car, I'll make a video about it. As always, thank you for watching and I hope to see you again in 2 weeks for a fresh market update.